A resonant case. A brutal murder of an 11th grade girl after New Year's Eve. A monster stabbed her repeatedly right in the center of the town. Don't miss out. When the police are powerless, the spirit of the victim will point to her killer. Welcome to Psychic Investigations, a project of true and astonishing stories. Here, people who call themselves clairvoyants investigate unbelievable paranormal phenomena and intricate criminal cases. A small town in Ukraine. Population around 18,000. Everyone knows each other by face. 9 years ago, a tragedy shook the area. 17-year-old high school senior Tetiana Olenko was savagely murdered in the middle of the town.
It was so terrifying for me that I can't even describe it.
Tetiana Olenko's body was found in this park. The park is located in the central district of the town. In it and immediately around it are the town's cultural center and cinema.
The girl's body showed 21 stab wounds.
5 were in the neck area, 8 on the front of the chest, and multiple cuts on the arms. Death was caused by a stab wound to the neck that severed the aorta.
Tetiana died 6 months before graduation. The locals couldn't understand who would commit such a brutal act, or why. The town was gripped by fear.
Everyone got terribly scared. Everyone was shocked.
The entire regional police force was mobilized to solve this crime.
In total, around 100 officers and investigators worked on Tetiana Olenko's murder. They questioned nearly every second resident, but the killer was never found.
We currently have no suspects. Everyone who was considered or mentioned as possibly involved was thoroughly investigated. But to this day, the case remains unsolved.
For 9 long years, Tetiana's mother has lived with the thought that no one has been punished for her daughter's murder.
My little girl, we love you and remember you, and you'll always be with us. I hope we'll find out who did this.
Her last hope of discovering who and why killed her child lies with the people with supernatural abilities. So she turned to our project's psychics, Hayal, Alekperov, and Zhanna, Shulakova.
I see the girl shortly before her death. She's like a bright white butterfly fluttering around a blazing fire. She has no idea what kind of person fate is about to bring her face to face with. It's a devil in human form.
This girl was terribly abused. I see her in the seat of a car. She was lured there through deception.
The psychics declined to comment further and set out to begin their investigation the very next day.
The girl never married, she never had children or was a mother or a wife. A tragic story.
What's going on? I sense the energy of a gray or maybe blue car.
I think it's blue, yes.
It drove off in that direction.
Reviewing footage from the dashboard camera, we confirmed that the car which cut off the psychic's bus was indeed dark blue. But what does it all mean?
Only after the investigation did I realize that wasn't a coincidence. At the time, we didn't understand the message the heavens were sending us.
The psychics arrive at the place where Tetiana lived with her family. Her relatives and friends, as well as concerned locals, are already waiting there. Tetiana's mother greets them.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming. Please come in.
We need some time to tune into your daughter's energy. I'll try to summon her spirit. She's standing right here. Let me move to the other side. It'll be easier to communicate with her. She was here last night, too.
It smells like vanilla.
Last night, yes. I sensed that smell. I even wondered if she was here.
I know why it smelled like vanilla. The girl probably baked well.
She dreamed of becoming a pastry chef.
You should feel warmth around your shoulders right now.
And something in my heart.
That's your daughter hugging you. She's showing me something blue. Possibly a dress.
Tetiana was buried in a blue dress, the same one she was meant to wear to receive her high school diploma 6 months later. But fate had other plans, and she wore it into the other world.
Hayal, may I hold your hands? You summoned the girl's spirit, so I can only ask her something through close contact with you. I see fragments, like a kaleidoscope picture that keeps shifting before my eyes.
I saw many people around Tetiana. Girls.
5 or maybe 6.
Tamara last saw her daughter alive on December 31st. Tetiana said she was going to celebrate New Year's Eve at her classmate's home.
The victim celebrated New Year's at her classmate Svetlana Hroshovik's home. There were 4 other friends with them.
We decided to celebrate together. We met at Svetlana's around 9 in the evening. Tetiana brought food.
We set the table, and around 10 or 11 we sat down. Then we took photos, chatted, and laughed, just like usual. Then we rang in the new year.
The girls shared 1 bottle of champagne among the 6 of them. According to the forensic report, no alcohol was found in the victim's blood.
After the celebration, Tetiana never returned home, and the next day, her body was found in the park with 21 stab wounds. Her friends, who spent Tetiana's final night with her, insist that nothing foreshadowed the tragedy.
I tried to tune into the energy of the girls who celebrated New Year's with Tetiana, and I sensed they were hiding something.
I still can't believe they didn't know who did it or who was there.
We were all questioned by the police. All 6 of us gave statements. Everything was fine. We weren't drunk. The father of the girl we were meeting was in the room. He didn't sit at the table, but he was watching.
Tetiana's parents will never forget that morning. They became alarmed at 10 a.m. By then, their daughter was supposed to be home.
She'd never failed to come home before.
Tetiana didn't have a mobile phone. Her mother immediately called her friend, whose house hosted the New Year's celebration.
By 10, we were already calling. Svetlana's father answered and said she wasn't there.
The worried mother called every girl who had celebrated with Tetiana, but no one knew where she was. They all claimed she'd gone home. A few hours later, Tamara contacted the police, and the search began.
I see that your daughter left that place alive. She said goodbye to her friends.
We interviewed the girls who celebrated New Year's with the victim. They claimed that around 6:40 a.m., they left the place and parted ways with Tetiana. Who went in which direction?
Tetiana went that way. We all went this way.
The girls weren't involved in Tetiana's death, but their behavior was weird. At the time, we didn't yet understand what they were hiding.
Oh God. She knows him. She's not afraid. She's standing with him, talking. Their eyes meet. His eyes are like a wolf's. She runs. Then she starts screaming. For some reason, she screams. Someone grabs her, just like that. They're slashing her. Oh my God. Oh no.
Zhanna, breathe. Drink some water. Let's step outside.
I need air. She's yelling, "Mommy, Mommy, do you hear her? She's screaming so loudly." Oh my God.
Your daughter was calling for you.
It was just before morning, or around 7. It wasn't a dream. It was like someone called out to me. I heard Mommy. I truly heard her voice. I opened my eyes, but she wasn't there. I jumped up. I thought, dear God, something's happened. I couldn't even grasp that it might mean she was already gone.
According to the official police version, the attack on Tetiana Olenko occurred around 7 a.m. She was killed between 7 and 8. The crime scene was about 1 kilometer from her home.
That was the cry of a soul already departing for the heavens, but fighting with all its strength to stay in the body. Her will to live was so strong that her cry reached the person dearest to her, her mother.
At that moment, I saw a man standing next to Tetiana's body, right at the spot where she was found. He wasn't related to her by blood, but she called him Father.
Tetiana's mother divorced her biological father when the girl was 9. Their relations soured. 2 years later, she met another man, Volodymyr. They married soon after. But could Tetiana's stepfather be involved in her death?
The girl's soul tells me that 2 men found her body, and both had some familial connection to her.
Tetiana's relatives searched for her among friends, checked every local cafe, and combed the entire town, but found her nowhere.
At that moment, I felt that her stepfather somehow knew where to look for her body.
Could Tetiana's stepfather be involved in her death? And was he the one who brutally murdered the girl?
The bond between the girl and her stepfather was very strong. He loved her as if she were his own child.
Volodymyr and Tamara married when Tetiana was 11.
Tetiana treated me well.
She loved him. At first, she even called him Dad.
But Tetiana didn't see her stepfather that night. Then I understood how he knew where to search. Her spirit gave him a sign after death so he could find her quickly.
It turns out that on the morning of January 1st, before knowing anything had happened to Tetiana, Tamara's husband had a dream. According to him, that dream helped him find her body.
I dreamed of trees and dark earth. I was walking with her godfather. He wanted us to go one way, the path we eventually took. But I insisted we go the other way. I had a feeling, like someone was pushing me.
The police investigated his involvement in the murder. The theory that he committed the crime was not confirmed.
I asked my djinns to show me the girl's murderer. Suddenly, I saw an open palm. At first, I thought it meant that someone had covered her mouth to silence her. But then I realized the palm was a trace left by the killer near her body.
At the crime scene, the investigators did find a human palm print. According to the investigation, it was left by the perpetrator. The police investigators compared the palm print found at the crime scene with prints in criminal databases, those of individuals previously convicted. It yielded no results. They also took fingerprints and palm prints from all suspects.
In total, that's around 12 to 13,000 people.
Even then, I had doubts. How could the police, with the killer's palm print and having checked so many people, still not find anyone?
The girl's soul desperately wanted to show us a place important to the investigation. There were lots of people and loud music, and that's where she locked eyes with her killer.
It turned out that on the night of the tragedy, the girls went to the local cultural center for a New Year's disco.
It was just across the street from my place, about 100 meters. We were having fun, nothing unusual.
When the psychics arrive at the cultural center, there's a large crowd gathered there. The people are moved by the family's grief.
To feel what happened here, we need to tune in.
This was the town's only disco. After Tetiana Olenko's brutal murder, it was shut down. Occasionally, concerts or performances are held here.
Even though Tetiana celebrated with those same friends, they weren't together the whole time.
There were many people. As soon as we entered, we pretty much split up.
When Tetiana stayed alone, she went up to a young man. He had a car. I see a dark vehicle, and she gets in it. Then I smell fire. There was a blaze. The car burned.
We found a witness who declined to speak on camera. He claims he saw Tetiana get into a dark blue car next to the disco on New Year's night. The most unbelievable fact is that shortly after her murder, a similar car was reported burned.
That's when I understood the sign from earlier. When a mysterious car cut us off on the way here. Tetiana's killer drove a similar car.
So the killer was near the disco that night. But how is that possible? Tetiana was allegedly with her friends until morning.
She and the guy just talked. No argument. After the conversation, she returned to her friends.
But you were all together.
I didn't see that.
Just like you don't know who killed her?
I don't know.
You do know.
From the very beginning, we sensed that the girls were hiding something. We just didn't know what. They were concealing the name of the guy Tetiana spoke to at the disco. After their conversation, she returned to the New Year celebration.
According to the criminal case materials, the group of the girls stayed there for about an hour and a half and then supposedly went home.
Tetiana's spirit told me we needed to go to the place where her body was found because there, she would show us who took her life.
Tetiana's body was found in the Central Park, just a few minutes' walk from the cultural center.
Zhanna, I see the killer's face now. She met him almost immediately after parting ways with her friends. He was under the influence of some drug.
I sensed that she met her killer near the park. She got into his car, but something went wrong. There was another guy with him. Together, they started harassing her. They raped her.
The victim was indeed raped. Her body contained the perpetrator's semen, skin particles, and clothing fibers. But in 9 years, investigators have been unable to identify who they belong to.
One of them asked her, "Why are you refusing?" Then hit her in the face. She broke free and ran from the car. They chased her down and struck her on the head.
Around this spot, the perpetrator hit her in the back of the head. Fragments from Tetiana's hair clip were found there.
The psychics are now at the site where Tetiana's body was found. It's 20 meters from where she was struck. According to police, the killer dragged her here.
He didn't kill her with that blow. It wasn't fatal.
But she fainted.
She collapsed and they began dragging her.
They started raping her. That's when she regained consciousness.
His eyes are a beast's eyes. He started slashing her. One of them held her arms and the other was over her. My God, it's horrifying. It was a drunken reaction to resistance, like, I'll take what I want.
I want to know who did this so he can be punished.
I see the image of a man with dark eyes. He was wearing sportswear and a sheepskin coat. I see a gold cross and a ring. I sense that someone in the girl's family saw the killer and knows he did it. Tetiana showed her attackers to one of her relatives in a dream.
Her stepfather.
Before 40 days after her death passed, I had a dream. I was in the cultural center. She took my hand, took me outside and said, "Lie here, under the tree." Then I felt a sharp pain in my back. I turned suddenly and there was a young man with a knife on top of me. Slim build, dark hair, cropped short. He had dark eyes.
He's older than the girl.
Much older?
He's under 30 now.
There are two of them. They're different. One is tall and athletic. The other is stockier, dark blonde.
Can you tell me his name?
I'm getting the letters S, M, and N.
They're hiding him. I sense he may have even been hospitalized, possibly involuntarily, but I can't tell what he's being treated for.
For mental disorders. Maybe he's genuinely unstable, or maybe someone wants people to think that. I have the impression that you know his name. And I believe the people gathered here suspect who it is too. But for some reason, they've stayed silent for years.
He was once a suspect in the police investigation.
After the psychics left, a man approached us. For understandable reasons, he asked to remain anonymous. Then he began telling us everything he knew about Tetiana Olenko's murder.
Everything they said is true. These are powerful people, and they're dangerous. They control the entire area.
All the locals, including Tetiana's friends, know the killers by face but are afraid. If they speak out, they could be harmed or even killed. But if everyone stands up, the murderer will be punished.
A woman's father was brutally murdered on her very birthday. The police's verdict is shocking. The monster who committed the atrocity was her own husband. Don't miss out. A stunning revelation of a family tragedy. Who is the real killer? You are watching Psychic Investigations, a project of exclusively true and astonishing stories. People who call themselves clairvoyants investigate mysterious paranormal phenomena and high-profile criminal cases. Thoughts about her own birthday bring only horror and painful memories to Kyiv resident Katerina Petrichenko. 2 years ago, what should have been a simple family celebration ended in the death of her 62-year-old father, Viktor Petrichenko. He was an engineering designer at one of the capital's research institutes.
I was so shocked. Just yesterday, he had been right here, and then such a horrible death.
Right here, on March 3rd, the body of Viktor Petrichenko was discovered with signs of a violent death.
His body was found at 4 a.m. According to the forensics, the man had been strangled.
Cause of death: mechanical asphyxia due to strangulation. Additionally, Viktor Petrichenko's body and face showed numerous injuries: bloody lips and nose, front teeth knocked out, and multiple bruises across his body.
Such a painful death. I miss him so much.
However, 2 weeks later, Katerina suffered another devastating blow. Her husband, Vitaly, was arrested for murder.
Vitaly Doroshenko was detained as a suspect in the murder of Viktor Petrichenko. The police claim Doroshenko killed his father-in-law due to personal animosity.
Katerina is a scientist at a governmental research institute. Vitaly was a graduate of Kyiv Polytechnic Institute, but had recently been working as a taxi driver, operating his own Chevrolet Niva. He and Katerina met on social media, fell in love, and married 3 years ago. The woman insists that Vitaly had no reason to kill her father. They never had conflicts.
On July 4th, the case was reclassified, and Vitaly Doroshenko was accused of murder for financial gain. He's allegedly wanted to claim his father-in-law's apartment.
However, according to Katerina, her husband would never have inherited her father's apartment, as the property legally belonged to her mother.
At present, the criminal case against Vitaly Doroshenko is being heard in court. If convicted, he faces a prison sentence of 7 to 15 years.
This is a double tragedy. I want to understand what happened, and why.
On March 2nd, Katerina's father came to visit her to celebrate her birthday. She lived with her husband in the city center. They had tea, ate cake, and listened to music. Around 10 p.m., Vitaly left for work, and by 11 p.m., her father had also decided to head home. He always took the metro, so he walked to the nearest station. At 4 a.m., he was found dead just 100 meters away from his home in one of the city's residential districts.
The investigation presents the following theory. Vitaly offered to drive his father-in-law home. The older man got into the car, and as they approached his building, a conflict arose, during which Vitaly strangled him.
Vitaly is now 35 years old. He has spent the last 2 years in pre-trial detention. The man is desperate. He doesn't understand why he's being accused and insists that the last time he saw his father-in-law was when he left home for work that night. Vitaly's mother, Olha Doroshenko, also refuses to believe that her son could kill someone. Over the past 2 years, she has cried so much that she barely has the strength left.
My son is under investigation. He didn't do it.
I want justice to prevail for my husband to be released and for the real criminals to be found.
Azerbaijani psychic Hayal, Alekperov, and hereditary shaman Marina Khomushku take up the case to find the truth.
Hello.
I'd really like you to help me find my father's murderer.
I'm asking you to help me and my son. He has been detained and accused of murder.
Do you have anything that belonged to your father?
I have his bracelet.
I see the last moments of your father's life.
Suffocation, some kind of rope.
But the rope used to strangle him isn't near the body.
It was supposedly a rope or a wire. The exact details are unknown.
Your father's heart stopped sometime after midnight.
According to the forensics, Viktor Petrichenko's death occurred at approximately 12:15 a.m. on March 3rd.
There's not a single witness. Nobody heard screaming or any suspicious noises.
We need to see the site where he was found.
Yes, okay.
I'm now tuning in to the night your father was murdered. I see you sitting at the table, the three of you, and then Vitaly leaves.
Yes, yes.
On the night of March 2nd to 3rd, Vitaly left for work at 10 p.m.
On March 2nd, I stood at my porch and saw Vitaly, wearing his jacket with a light collar, open his car, turn around, and drive off, alone.
Vitaly stopped not far from home.
I feel that both Katerina's husband and father were in the same location.
We found Vitaly's colleague who stated that on March 2nd at 10 p.m., Vitaly was about 200 meters from the building where he lived with Katerina, not far from the metro station.
The area around the metro station is a lucrative spot for taxi drivers. It's always busy here, meaning more chances to earn. So, could Vitaly have anticipated that his father-in-law would take the metro home, so he met him near the metro station, offered him a ride, and then killed him?
I don't see Vitaly in the same location as your father. It seems your husband had already left by then. They were in the same place, but at different times.
But the police investigators claim that Vitaly killed Viktor. Could Vitaly have waited for his father-in-law near his home and strangled him there?
I'm having a vision. People pass by your husband's car. They're wearing blue uniforms. Most likely they're from the police. They are searching Vitaly's car, taking notes. And most importantly, they found something. I hear someone shouting, "There's blood here!"
According to the defendant's wife, the car was searched on March 6th. On the left side of the passenger seat's backrest, a blood stain was found. According to forensic examination results, it was the blood of the deceased.
But how did Viktor's blood end up in the car? Unless Vitaly really had driven him home. Could Katerina be covering for the murderer? Or is his mother simply unable to believe who her son really is?
Some evidence was found in his clothing.
On March 20th, when Vitaly Doroshenko was detained, his clothing was seized for forensic analysis.
The trousers that were taken from Vitaly allegedly also had traces of the victim's blood.
Here, right here, they found a detail that became very important in this case.
20 centimeters from Viktor Petrichenko's head, a 5-centimeter piece of white rope was discovered. On it, there was a brown-colored residue.
According to the forensic experts, it was Vitaly Doroshenko's blood. But how did this small piece of rope end up at the crime scene? And why was Vitaly's blood on it? Could it be a fragment of the murder weapon?
I hear accusations against him. And not only him. The victim's daughter is also being blamed. Was she also accused of murdering her father?
The uniformed people are writing something down and repeating, "You killed him. You both killed him."
After her father's death, Katerina was accused of his murder. The claim was that she and her husband had strangled her father and then dumped his body outside the entrance of the building where he lived. And now, Vitaly refuses to implicate his wife to avoid receiving a longer sentence for a joint murder.
I see a number of people in the car. They're sprinkling something black inside. Inspecting it.
As soon as the police discovered Viktor Petrichenko's body, they immediately went to see his daughter.
The policeman quickly informed the victim's daughter about the tragic news and began interrogating Katerina and her husband. A few hours later, they searched Vitaly Doroshenko's car, which was parked near the entrance to the building where they lived.
They started rummaging, taking photos. Then they seized the floor mats from under the front seats, took them, and then covered the entire car in black powder. On the 3rd, after they smeared it, we went to the car wash to clean it and wipe off the black dust.
Someone pointed at your husband saying, "He's the murderer." A woman. It's your mother.
Yes.
But she didn't even know your husband's face.
She'd never seen him before. And yet, for some reason, she immediately developed this attitude towards him.
The prosecution's case against Vitaly Doroshenko is based solely on the testimony of Katerina's mother. Katerina's mother is also Katerina. She's convinced that her son-in-law killed her husband. Could she have seen or known something?
This is my mother's apartment.
Who's there?
Salam alaikum.
Hello. What's going on here?
Hello, Psychic Investigations. I'm Hayal Alekperov, and this is Marina Komushku. We're here to talk about your son-in-law.
What son-in-law? He's a damn murderer. He killed my husband. Let Vitaly and my daughter hide together. He killed him, assisted by my daughter, who's not here.
No one expected this. The woman doesn't even notice that her own daughter is standing directly in front of her. It turns out that older Katerina has been struggling with alcoholism for years. She lost custody of her daughter when she was little.
Katerina was raised by her parents until she was 4 years old. But then, her mother began drinking heavily. When she lost all control, she was stripped of her parental rights.
Katerina says her mother was gorgeous in her youth. It's no surprise that her father fell in love with her. However, Katerina doesn't remember her mother ever working. A few years into their marriage, she began drinking.
Katerina was raised by her grandparents. Viktor was always at work.
Viktor inherited the apartment where the family lived from his parents. As a gesture of love, he transferred ownership to his wife. That's why he couldn't just leave her, and he didn't want to. Until his last days, he tried to save the former beauty, who was sinking deeper and deeper into alcoholism.
He tried to help her, but she refused treatment.
I feel sorry for her. I'd like to help, but she doesn't want my help. You saw how she treats me. It's heartbreaking.
I don't need her. That daughter, I don't need her. May she be cursed along with him.
That scoundrel belongs in prison for life.
The most horrifying fact is that Vitaly Doroshenko was arrested as the prime suspect solely based on the testimony of the woman who doesn't even recognize her own daughter and has been drinking for over 30 years.
Aside from Katerina's mother, there is no other testimony against Vitaly.
I'm speechless. How could the police base the case on this woman's testimony? She doesn't understand what's happening.
It turns out that Vitaly Doroshenko, who has spent the past 2 years in pretrial detention for the alleged murder of his father-in-law, also wrote to the psychics. According to his relatives, investigators have been trying to force a confession out of him, but he refuses to give in.
Vitaly Doroshenko denies any involvement in the crime. According to his family, the police have pressured him to confess.
Vitaly filed a complaint with the Kiev prosecutor's office, stating that he had been subjected to torture and other unlawful interrogation methods.
The prosecutor's office investigated his complaint, but found no grounds to open a criminal case.
I'm seeing images from the night Victor died. Your son is in a strange place. I see a large table covered with multicolored balls.
According to the suspect's wife, on the night of March 2nd to 3rd, her husband was in a cafe in one of the city's residential areas, where he was playing billiards with his friend.
Katerina says her husband worked throughout the city. Sometimes, when he had no clients, he would wait at cafes. That's what he did on the night of March 2nd to 3rd. After dropping off the passenger in the sleeping area, he waited for the next call at the cafe.
That night, I met with my classmates around 11 p.m. About an hour and a half later, Vitaly arrived. We started playing pool.
But if Viktor Petrichenko's death occurred after midnight, and by 12:30 a.m. Vitaly was at the cafe, could he have killed his father-in-law?
He stayed with us for about an hour and a half, and then he left.
But if that's the case, then how did Viktor's blood end up in Vitaly's car?
The blood was found after the car had been washed. Several days later,
the first inspection of the car took place on March 3rd, right after the murder. No stains or traces of blood were found at that time. Blood traces in the car were discovered only on March 7th. But according to official records, Victor's blood sample was collected on March 6th. That coincidence seems very strange to me.
On March 6th, they took a blood sample from my father's body. And on the 7th, blood stains appeared in Vitaly's car and on his clothes.
His clothes were taken away clean, and later they turned up covered in blood. But the blood wasn't fresh, it was planted.
The suspect's trousers, which allegedly had traces of the victim's blood, were seized from Vitaly on March 20th, the day of his arrest. However, it is strange that, on the night of Viktor Petrichenko's death, the suspect was wearing different pants. This was confirmed by surveillance footage from the cafe.
And the piece of rope found here, with traces of your husband's blood, it seems to disappear later. How is that possible?
The defense requested an expert analysis to determine the murder weapon. The investigation denied the request, without explanation.
You mentioned the piece of rope earlier, and now it turns out nothing can be determined from it. Only fibers remain.
But wasn't the suspect's blood allegedly found on that piece of rope? Did the police deliberately destroy the only evidence linking Vitaly to the crime scene? Why would they do that?
During court proceedings, all evidence must be preserved. The rope fragment was a crucial piece of evidence. Destroying it is illegal.
When the rope fragment was discovered, the investigation report initially didn't mention any stains or traces. Only later was it allegedly found to contain Doroshenko's blood. However, the fragment has now been destroyed on the chief investigator's order.
I'm receiving an image of your father walking. From that direction. I don't see him riding in a car.
The police dog at the crime scene picked up a trail that confirmed the victim had not traveled by car. He had arrived by metro. The dog followed the trail to the metro station.
He's innocent. Your son did not kill anyone.
This is a setup. The police believed your mother's testimony.
No matter how I feel about her, she's still my mother. But her inability to understand the situation has brought so much pain. It's heartbreaking. I hope she realizes the truth.
But if Vitaly is innocent, why has he been kept behind bars for 2 years?
There's an arrest placed on this property. Everything is in limbo. Could this be some kind of scheme? Tell me, how was my father killed?
There was more than one killer. Nothing was planned.
He emerged as if from underground, most likely from the metro. To the right, there is another archway. He usually passed through it to get to his entrance. But that night, someone was there. 2 young men. Your father got scared and walked further. He sped up, but the men ran after him. Right here, they attacked him. Threw a rope around his neck. One strangling while the other rummaged through his pockets. First, a blow to the face, and after he lost balance, they tightened the cord around his neck.
Then they ran away.
They wanted to rob your father. Something went missing.
When Viktor Petrichenko's body was discovered, his wallet, which according to Katerina, contained about 800 hryvnias, and his pension certificate were missing.
This wasn't their first robbery. They had attacked others in this same area before.
In the archways, you walk in with a bag and they watch you, or they lurk near the playground. The moment you enter the archway, one rushes out and grabs your bag, or your earrings, or your necklace. It happens constantly. Just recently, they robbed someone and stripped them near the first entrance.
A horrific murder of a schoolgirl on Children's Day. Don't miss out. The girl's ghost will expose everyone involved in her death. Welcome to Psychic Investigations, a channel of true and shocking stories. Here, people who call themselves clairvoyants investigate resonant criminal cases and unbelievable paranormal phenomena. June 1st, 2018. The center of a small Ukrainian village. These are the scenes from the celebration of Children's Day. Nadia and Dimitro can't recall it without pain, as it's their daughter, Veronika, dances and smiles for the last time in her life. She disappeared shortly after the celebration, and the following day was found dead, not far from a stream on the outskirts of the village.
The cause of death was mechanical asphyxiation. Veronika was strangled with hands.
When a child doesn't return home and is found dead the next morning, it's truly horrifying.
Veronika was our only child. I love her very much. It's incredibly hard without her.
My beloved granddaughter. Veronika was my only joy. Now she's gone, I don't even know how to go on living.
Veronika was a true star of the local dance ensemble, performing not only in her village, but all around Ukraine.
She had various costumes and played different roles.
She was so sociable. Everyone loved her.
Her laughter was contagious. Everyone around would immediately start laughing. She was so cheerful.
The parents still can't bring themselves to remove even the smallest trinkets from Veronika's room.
She collected seashells and different beautiful stones. It's so hard sometimes that I immediately go out. Everything reminds me that my daughter used to live here.
The horrific murder of the schoolgirl in a small, quiet village, moreover, on Children's Day, shocked everyone deeply.
It's a small village where everyone knows one another. Nothing interesting ever happens here.
Veronika's mother recalls the last day of her daughter's life. After the celebration, there was a disco, and Veronika asked her mother for permission to stay and dance. Nadia still blames herself for letting Veronika stay.
I allowed her to stay by 11. We agreed that she'd come home on time.
However, when Veronika didn't return at the appointed time, her mother got alarmed.
I dialed her. Her phone was off. I felt panic and fear. I started calling her friends who might have been at the disco. I even went to her classmates myself, asking if they had seen or heard anything.
The search for the 7th grader took almost 24 hours. The parents tried to find anyone who might possibly know where their daughter had gone or seen her.
Aunt Nadia, her mom, approached me and asked, "Have you seen Veronika?"
On June 1st, Lydia, Veronika's friend, was also at the disco. However, she says she didn't see when or where Veronika had disappeared. None of Veronika's friends could say where she had gone.
I called our local police officer, and he told me to urgently call the police from the town. I hoped they would find something, and everything would be okay.
However, on the evening of the following day, a call from the investigator shattered that hope.
We were taken to the morgue for identification.
As we entered, her face was covered. She was completely covered, and just her red hair remained visible.
We almost fainted.
According to the forensic examination, the girl died before 3 a.m. on June 2nd.
According to her parents, Veronika's body was all bruised badly.
She was beaten all over. What kind of monsters could do this to a child?
What shocked the parents even more was that their daughter was found partially undressed.
Her top was pulled up. A tracksuit jacket was thrown over her. Her leggings and panties were pulled down to her ankles, and her shoes were scattered in different directions. I can never unsee it.
Veronika's parents feared she had been sexually assaulted. However, the investigators dismissed these assumptions.
The investigators assert that she wasn't raped. According to them, there were no signs of sexual violence on Veronika's body.
Panic swept through the village. Who could be so cruel as to kill a 7th grader like this? Yet, just a day after the horrific crime, the investigator in charge informed the parents that they had detained the attacker.
He said the suspect was in custody, confessing to everything. He assured me he wouldn't escape anywhere.
But when Veronika's family learned who the suspect was, they were simply shocked. When they arrived at the police station, they saw a frightened 8th grader named Danilo. He was small and only a year older than Veronika.
Such a little skinny kid. He would never overpower Veronika. She was strong, athletic, and she did wrestling. She outperformed everyone at the training sessions.
According to the investigators that evening, Danilo escorted Veronika home from the disco. Along the way, an argument erupted, during which the boy inflicted severe bodily injuries on the victim and then strangled her.
Veronika's family has many questions. How could this boy strangle her? Why didn't she defend herself? And how did she end up in the company of the 8th grader with whom, according to her parents, she had never even communicated?
Veronika never crossed paths with him in her life.
Just like Veronika's parents, Danilo's mother, Lyudmila, doesn't believe the official version.
They weren't friends or even acquaintances.
Our expert tried to get at least a comment regarding this case from the local police.
I'm calling you regarding the murder of Veronika Shtanko. Could you provide a comment on this case, please?
No. The case is currently in court.
Through my channels within the police force, I managed to obtain a video recording of the suspect's interrogation, where he describes what happened.
I punched her, Veronika. Then I panicked, got scared, and ran home.
Oddly enough, but during the interrogation, Danilo didn't even mention undressing Veronika. Moreover, I didn't hear any questions from the investigators about that either.
The locals suspect that the schoolboy was mistakenly arrested because he was the only one among the visitors of the disco who had previous problems with the police.
I know that he stole a scooter once, but to kill someone, he's not capable of that.
The villagers believe that the police are simply trying to pin Veronika's murder on the teenager. Meanwhile, the real culprit remains free.
The real criminal is free, while the innocent boy is in prison.
Moreover, Danilo comes from a troubled family. His father is currently behind the bars, while his mother supports their large family single-handedly, so they can't even afford a lawyer.
I think they arrested him because his father is in prison. Maybe they assumed it was him because of his family history.
It's impossible. I know he didn't do it.
Veronika's parents claim that the evidence against the schoolboy that the investigators suggest raises more questions than answers.
They have a suspect, but no evidence.
Forensic experts found numerous scratches on Veronika's body. In this photo, you can see clearly nail marks. However, it's strange that the swabs taken from under Danilo's nails immediately after his arrest showed neither traces of her blood nor epithelium.
For some reason, they didn't conduct an examination of the swabs from under Veronika's nails.
According to the chief investigator, her hands were in water for a long time. But based on the photos of the place where they found her, her hands couldn't have been in water.
Veronika's parents believe that the psychics are their only hope to understand what truly happened to their daughter.
We really want to know the truth, to find out who the real killer is, instead of just pinning everything on that boy.
I won't get my daughter back, but if we don't hold the one who really did it accountable, the impunity could lead to another crime.
Our project's experts, Yana Pasinkova and Zhanna Shulakova, take up the case.
Hello.
Hello?
We want to know who killed our daughter.
May I see your daughter's photo?
Of course.
I need a lighter. I sensed that Veronika was an extraordinary child. She had special kind of energy, as if she wasn't meant to be born at all.
Due to elevated male hormones, I can't get pregnant. I can't have children.
Nadia says she always dreamed of having a daughter. But after marriage, she struggled to conceive.
It was a miracle that I got pregnant at all. After that, I couldn't conceive, carry, or give birth.
This child was like a gift from fate. I couldn't fathom why the girl whose birth was such a miracle was taken away from this family so cruelly.
I need to see your daughter's room, and I need something of her belongings.
Yes, sure.
These are her certificates, right?
Yes, for the participation in contests.
Dance wasn't just a hobby for her, it was her life.
I heard Veronika's voice. She said, "My friend knows my secrets. You'll see her at the gate. Let's go outside." Among the locals, I hoped to find the friend who might know the secret related to Veronika's murder, but instead, I saw the spirit of a deceased girl who was holding Veronika's hand. She was her very close friend. But now both of them are gone. She lost her friend shortly before her death.
Yes, our neighbor Maria.
It turns out that Veronika and her friend Maria were members of the same ensemble.
I feel the same pain as yours. It's a mother's pain. Come over here.
This woman's name is Olena. She lives nearby. A few years ago, she tragically lost her daughter, Maria. People still remember the tragedy that occurred at the public beach. In broad daylight, 2 children died before their parents' eyes.
My husband was riding a raft with her and another girl, but the sluices on the river suddenly opened, and the current carried them away to the other side of the river.
Olena's husband tried to pull both girls to the shore, but the current was too strong. Maria died from cardiac arrest, and her friend drowned.
My God.
We detected Maria's spirit for a specific reason.
Veronika perceives Maria's death as a great injustice from the world. To her, it was like losing a part of her. You see?
Yes.
Veronika's parents still remember their daughter, visit her best friend's grave, and sit there for hours every day after school.
Veronika quit the ensemble because everything there reminded her of her deceased friend.
After Maria's death, she simply took down the poster of that ensemble that hung on the wall in her room, saying she didn't want to see it.
And she just couldn't be there.
They perceive each other as family, like sisters. Your daughter knew absolutely everything about Veronika. She knew all her secrets. I feel this secret was related to love and some man. I see a small room with fair walls. You both are in there. Your daughter is still alive, and she's with you. You argue. Dimitro, you're pushing something. Stop. I hear a word, pedophile.
Are you saying that there was a sexual relationship between the father and daughter?
I shouted at her.
It turned out that Veronika started communicating with an 18-year-old youth named Yaroslav. Her father believed that the friendship between the 7th grader and the almost adult young man wouldn't end up well.
I shouted at him and called him a pedophile. I told him not to come near her.
I thought maybe the secret of the murder was connected to him. We needed to understand who Yaroslav really was.
Veronika's family say that Yaroslav also lives in their village. At first, her mother and grandmother were concerned about Veronika's friendship with someone much older than her. However, after getting to know Yaroslav better, they felt reassured.
He's an ordinary boy. He's cheerful and interesting. They mostly walked along the street by the pond. Once, she came home with a rose. We asked her where the rose was from, and she said it was from him.
Nadia says that at some point, the relationship between Veronika and her father turned into constant arguments. Veronika reacted dramatically to every comment he made.
Dad became her worst enemy.
I had conflicts with my wife and daughter about it. I didn't allow it. Veronika's mother claimed I wouldn't achieve anything with shouting, especially considering Veronika had entered the teenage phase.
You're losing your family. You're not together anymore. Do I get it right?
Yes.
You broke up, and it happened while Veronika still lived, right?
Yes.
We hadn't lived together for over a year before this happened. So yes, in 2017, sometime in April, my wife and daughter moved to another place. It's still in the village, but they rented the accommodation.
The couple separated for a while to calm down and cool off. Veronika lived with her mother and saw her father occasionally. However, after their daughter's death, Nadia and Dimitro realized they could never be together again.
I couldn't understand whether the boy towards whom Veronika had strong feelings could be really involved in her death.
I phoned Yaroslav to check his alibi. We agreed to meet and talk at the station.
The psychics, Veronika's parents, and her close friend Lydia are waiting at the railway station.
Yaroslav said that he left the disco before Veronika. He went from there with his friend Mikola and spent the night at his grandmother's house. However, when I checked Mikola's interrogation, his testimony contradicted Yaroslav's. When I left the disco, Yaroslav was already gone. I don't know where he was. Besides, nobody interrogated Yaroslav's grandmother as a witness.
Yaroslav's alibi isn't proven. So, could he really be involved in Veronika's murder?
Yaroslav, did you see Veronika on the day when she disappeared?
Yes. At around 6 or 7. We met at the station and went to the club.
To the disco, right? Okay. What time did you leave the disco?
I had to go to work the next morning, so I went home with Mikola. I was home after midnight, at around 12:30.
Then tell me, please, why does your friend claim he doesn't know where you went?
I have no idea.
And who did Veronika stay with after you left?
I don't know.
Do you mean you went and left the girl you had a romantic relationship with alone?
Yes.
At that moment, the cards told me that someone else interfered in Veronika and Yaroslav's relationship, leading to a conflict. It's a woman.
My sister. She forbade me to go out with Veronika because she was too young.
Your sister attacked Veronika.
Yes, I saw it.
She punched her once.
But why did the conflict happen?
At that moment, I saw an image of Veronika surrounded by several teenagers. They were shouting at her, insulting her, and pushing her. She was a victim of bullying by her peers.
Yes. She was often insulted at school. She had many complexes about it.
In private conversations, Veronika's friends confessed to me that students systematically bullied her, insulted her, threw her belongings away, and even started physically hurting her shortly before her death.
I don't understand one thing. She was smart and beautiful. Why did this happen?
Envy was the cause. Veronika was targeted by her female peers precisely because she was attractive, looked more mature, and caught the attention of boys.
They constantly bothered her. For instance, she had full lips, and they said she'd had injections. She had a bust, and they claimed she stuffed her bra with tissues and other nonsense. Several times when I entered the classroom, they told me not to be friends with her, not to associate with her.
And when Veronika started dating Yaroslav, things got even worse.
Yes. I went to sort it out. They began bullying her at school because she was dating an older guy.
Later, Veronika's mother shared that a year before her daughter's death, she had her transferred to another school because of this.
She would come home with a broken nose, scratches, and bruises. So, she refused to go to that school.
But the bullying didn't end after that. I even see the insults being written.
Yes. She was often insulted both in real life and on social media. She tried swallowing pills. We spent all night irrigating her stomach. We had plenty of conversations, and we spoke to a counselor.
The psychics continued to investigate the murder of a 13-year-old schoolgirl on Children's Day. The 7th grader went to a disco and never returned home. She was found the following day near a stream on the outskirts of the village where she lived, strangled and partially undressed.
The investigators claimed she wasn't raped.
And they assured the parents that they had found the murderer.
Such a little skinny kid. He would never overpower Veronika, never.
The suspect is a local schoolboy named Danilo. He's 14. According to his parents, he never interacted with Veronika, and he even goes to a different school. The locals don't believe he could be involved in the murder. The people think the police are simply trying to pin the crime on the boy, who comes from a poor and troubled family.
His father is in prison. Maybe they assumed it was him because of his family history.
We'd really like to know who the real killer is.
During the investigation, psychics Yana Pasinkova and Zhanna Shulakova, along with the project's detective Katerina Malichenko, arrived at the local train station to meet with Yaroslav, Veronika's boyfriend.
My sister forbade me to go out with Veronika.
Yaroslav's sister hated Veronika so much that she even raised her hand against her. I saw an image of Veronika surrounded by several teenagers. They were shouting at her, insulting her, and pushing her. She was a victim of bullying by her peers.
She would come home with a broken nose, scratches, and bruises.
Do you know that all her bullies were at the disco with Veronika?
They were all there.
Most of the teenagers claimed they didn't remember who the 7th grader went with or where she headed after the disco. Yet, strange enough, almost all of them mentioned that Veronika led an immoral lifestyle.
Veronika has sexual relationships with various partners her age.
Could the girl's death truly be the result of relentless bullying by her peers, which went beyond all bounds?
What do you blame yourself for?
She called me while I was going home and asked me to come back.
Did she call you from the disco?
Yes.
Why didn't you come back?
I don't know.
I sensed that Yaroslav doesn't only regret refusing to accompany Veronika home, as shortly before her death, he broke up with her.
But who would want to kill the 7th grader? And how did Veronika end up on the outskirts of the village?
As far as I get it, the place where the disco was is somewhere nearby.
Yes.
How far is it from there to the spot where your daughter's body was found?
Up to 2 kilometers approximately.
Veronika's parents still can't fathom how their daughter ended up near the stream at the other end of the village. After the disco, she was supposed to head home, which is in the opposite direction.
I sense she willingly went to the outskirts of the village from the disco. And she wasn't afraid because she was with someone she considered a close friend.
According to the interrogated teenagers who were at the disco, they saw Danilo among the attendees and claimed he went with Veronika after the disco. But according to her parents, Veronika and Danilo weren't friends, and they didn't even communicate.
I see Veronika. She's walking alongside another girl her age.
Yes. According to the witnesses, she was supposed to accompany Tanya, her classmate, home. And this Tanya lives very close to where it happened.
It's incredible. Does this mean that Veronika went to the other side of the village, where she was later found dead, to accompany her friend? Could Tanya be the last person to see Veronika alive then?
The cards told me that the secret of Veronika's murder lies in the place of her death.
The psychics and Veronika's family and friends head to the outskirts of the village, where her body was found. Concerned locals join them. On their way there, the clairvoyants call Veronika's friend Tanya and her mother.
Were you at the disco on the night of Veronika's death?
No. Mom didn't allow me to go, so I stayed home.
But they're witnesses who saw you.
Who?
I saw her. She entered the disco with Veronika. I saw her.
She never goes anywhere without me. She was home with me. Do you mean you testified that she wasn't there? It was apparent we wouldn't get the truth from Tanya and her mother. I decided to tune in to the spot where Veronika's body was found.
Tanya and her mother stay behind, closely observing the clairvoyant's work from amidst the crowd.
I see her right here, lying face down. Her neck twisted and her arms spread out like this. This is the place where she was found.
Yes.
She was lying face down on the stone.
But she didn't die here. She was brought here later.
During the interrogation, Danilo indeed said that the murder happened about 20 to 30 meters from where they found the body, after which he allegedly dragged the unconscious girl to the stream. He wanted to splash water on her to revive her.
I took her under her arms and dragged her.
However, what he demonstrates at the reenactment doesn't match the results of the forensic examination. If he had dragged her like that, there would have been signs of dragging on her heels, which weren't there. Is he intentionally misleading the investigation to confuse the detectives? Or does he really not know what actually happened and is acting under pressure from the police officers?
Lyudmila, Danilo's mother, has also come to the site of Veronika's death. When she heard that the clairvoyants were heading there, she hurried after them. Lyudmila is convinced her son is innocent, and he was simply forced to confess to the crime he didn't commit.
Someone is threatening him, but I can't figure out who.
I see shadows. There were 2 people here.
The murderer wasn't alone.
Was it a group murder? 2 people brought Veronika here. But who were they?
If Danilo isn't acting under pressure from the police and intentionally misleading the investigation, he could very well be one of the 2 people who carried the body. But who is the other person?
I decided to tune in to the moment of Veronika's death and saw Danilo with another young man.
But who is he? And how did Veronika end up with him and Danilo that night if, according to the witnesses, she was supposed to accompany her friend home?
I had a vision of Veronika and her friend approaching a house. Strangely, Danilo was following behind. The girls said their goodbyes, and Veronika walked back with Danilo.
The cards told me there was secret correspondence and love confessions. Veronika actually spoke to Danilo.
I consulted IT specialists to access Veronika's online profile, and I found her and Danilo's chat, in which he confessed his love. "I want to date you. I love you." And Veronika's replied, "I don't even like you."
So, perhaps Danilo followed Veronika from the disco because he wanted her attention.
He's not the murderer. His hand didn't commit the murder. But he's an accomplice, and he's covering up the real criminal.
I also told them he was covering someone up.
But who is that person? And why won't Danilo reveal his identity?
He's intimidated by someone who's not involved in the murder.
It could be someone from the police. As a rule, investigating a group murder of a child involves higher-level scrutiny. Meanwhile, accidental killings due to arguments are simpler to close. Perhaps the investigators wanted to avoid unnecessary complications.
What is that supposed to mean? If two people were involved in the murder, there should be evidence pointing to the second attacker. But where is it?
In such cases, investigators often eliminate any details that might lead to the second suspect, to erase the traces. Maybe that's why there's no other evidence in the case.
But who is Danilo trying to protect? And why did that person kill Veronika? What was the motive behind this crime?
I feel both ashamed and horrified to say this, but Veronika was indeed raped.
Hush, hush.
The detectives found a condom with a small amount of semen near Veronika's body. However, it's impossible to determine whether it was used during sexual activity with her, as there are no conclusive findings in the case files.
It's unimaginable. A schoolgirl was killed, and instead of investigating, the police are covering up the evidence. What is that supposed to mean? Who raped and murdered the underage beauty?
I see horrifying images. I see someone turning savage, tearing her clothes as if he's trying to tear her body apart.
There are indeed scratches resembling nail marks on Veronika's body. However, no biological traces from Veronika were found under Danilo's nails. Does it mean someone else did this?
I sense that Veronika resisted fiercely during the attack and the assailant strangled her. So she fainted.
We can find the murderer through the black mirror. He left a trace there.
Could it be a phone? After all, Veronika had her phone with her. As it turned out, Veronika's phone was found not far from the suspect's home. Danilo revealed its location during the interrogation.
Is this where you hid the phone?
Yes.
There's a number of violations in the video. Firstly, Danilo wiped the phone on his pants, potentially destroying any fingerprints. Furthermore, the detective handles the physical evidence without gloves, which contradicts standard procedures.
Despite this, the investigators still analyzed the fingerprints left on the phone and surprisingly found the prints left by Veronika, Danilo, and an unidentified person.
According to the investigators, they didn't examine the unknown prints further, assuming they belonged to someone from the investigating team. I'm speechless. Probably it would be possible to find the murderer's prints on the phone unless the detectives had made a series of critical mistakes.
The girl's spirit mentioned the phone not only to indicate her assailant's fingerprints, but also because she had chatted with him. Veronika received messages from her murderer, and it wasn't Danilo.
Wait, I have access to Veronika's page. Let's check it.
The cards told me the real murderer is in a relationship with someone, and he's possibly married. Yet, he aggressively sought Veronika's attention.
I accessed Veronika's page and found a chat with a user with a strange nickname, Czar. Shortly before Veronika's death, this person invited her for an evening walk.
Yaroslav, look, you might know these people. Who are they?
Hi, would you like to go out tonight? Hi, have we met? Yes, this is Volodymyr, Tanya's brother.
Did Veronika reply?
On the same day, Veronika replied, I'll tell Alisa. And he texted back, I just wanted to buy something to treat you. It turns out that Volodymyr, Tanya's brother, asked Veronika out. And the witnesses say that Veronika followed Tanya home on the night of her death. Volodymyr lives with his parents, his wife Alisa and their toddler and Tanya, not far from the place where Veronika's body was found.
Is Alisa really Volodymyr's wife? Did Veronika threaten the man to tell her that he'd been asking her out?
Oksana, Tanya, can we talk? Please come over. Do you understand what happened?
A chat.
Between your son and a 13-year-old girl.
Alisa knew about it. She saw it too. Volodymyr said she'd declined and refused to go with him.
I was shocked. Volodymyr has a wife and a child, yet he invited an underage schoolgirl, his sister's friend, for a date. Can you possibly comment on that?
How would I know? Am I supposed to check what they do online?
Wait, where was your son on the night of Veronika's murder?
He was at the disco.
What time did he come back home?
At around 3 or maybe 4.
What time did the girl die?
Between 1 and 2 a.m.
Perhaps Veronika met Volodymyr after seeing off her friend and returning with Danilo? After all, the man lives in the same house as his mother and sister.
If he returned home in the early morning, theoretically, he had enough time to commit the crime. Moreover, he could have gone unnoticed since it was nighttime.
But who knows at what time Volodymyr left the disco?
Do you happen to know who he was with?
Yes, he went there with Dennis.
I found Volodymyr's interrogation file among the case materials. He told the investigator that he was indeed at the disco with his friend Dennis. However, it turned out that his friend had poor recollection of the events due to heavy alcohol intoxication. It's strange, but the detectives didn't further verify Volodymyr's alibi, and it can't be confirmed by his friend, who literally blacked out that night.
Where is Volodymyr now?
He left.
It turned out that after the girl's death, he and his family moved to a neighboring village where his wife comes from.
We needed to talk to this man at all costs, so we agreed to pay him a visit the following day.
The next morning, Katerina Malichenko and Veronika's parents go to see the lawyer to pass on everything that the psychics sensed. Meanwhile, the clairvoyants head to talk to Volodymyr.
Can we have you for a word?
Are you Volodymyr?
Yes,
And I'm Alisa, his wife. Did you know Veronika?
I did.
She was your sister's friend, right?
Yes,
What was your attitude to her?
It was normal.
she used to come to my place, and they played. Everything was fine, and I didn't mind.
It's odd, but during the interrogation with the investigator, Volodymyr gave different testimony.
Veronika always wore bright, provocative clothes, drank alcohol, smoked, and led an immoral lifestyle. I had no relationship with her, and I didn't allow my sister to associate with her.
Did you find Veronika attractive as a woman?
No, I'm not interested in underage girls. I just know the consequences.
Then, if you weren't interested in Veronika, why did you text her to ask her out?
I simply texted her.
Did you see her on June Fern?
I did, at the disco.
Did you see her somewhere else?
No, I told you I didn't see her, period.
Yet again, it turns out Volodymyr is not telling the truth.
I managed to obtain footage from the surveillance cameras of a store not far from the disco. Here it is. 9:46 p.m. Volodymyr meets with Veronika and Yaroslav. They talk and then enter the store.
Well, okay, I met her. All right.
Something strange is happening to your memory. I sensed that Veronika encountered her assailant on the way after seeing off her friend. She realized that he could help her reconcile with the boy she loved.
As it turns out, the young man the psychics are speaking to is a close friend of Yaroslav, Veronika's boyfriend. Could he really be involved in her death? And why is the evidence he's giving so contradictory?
If you're innocent, then why did the police interrogate you?
Look, here's how it was. They called my sister first.
They claimed she was at the disco, but she wasn't there.
You're lying again.
I saw your sister, and others saw her, too.
Stop lying, will you?
Are you calling me a liar? Do you want me to bring other people?
Give me a break, or my reflex is going to kick in.
Could Volodymyr really harm the girl?
Did you see Veronika after midnight that night?
No.
The cards told me he lied again. Plus, he was behaving very arrogantly.
Suddenly, I felt someone touch my back. I saw Veronika's spirit. She's crying. She says, "Stop it. I want peace. I don't want you to keep talking about what they did to me." She says, "I just want my parents to bring me my seashells. Dad keeps them." I didn't understand what was going on, but I couldn't refuse. I had to fulfill her last request.
Nadia and Dimitro are waiting for the psychics at the house of their daughter's father.
We went to the seaside every summer, and she loved collecting seashells. This year, I went to the same place where we last vacationed with her. I picked up those shells, crying bitterly. I was sobbing.
It was heartbreaking to see Veronika's parents.
Please be strong. Take these seashells to Veronika's grave. She's waiting for you there.
Yes. All right.
We hope that thanks to the psychics, the police will reopen the investigation and hold all those involved in the murder accountable.